Alright, first off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to the brothers in the highways and byways pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps. Shalom. This is your brother Aaron from the GMS Jamaica camp, coming with another quick lesson. Alright, and this lesson also, as my previous lesson was inspired by an animated series that I've been watching of late. And in the start of it, there was a threat or something that had happened, hundreds 100 years prior, right? And there was this great wall there that actually protected the people, and no catastrophe, no major incidents had happened within that 100-year period. All right, and when I saw that, it reminded me of the fact that it's been quite a few years since the last World War, and the whole society is very complacent, and they are under that normalcy bias, which they think that nothing bad can and will happen in the near future, especially Jake. All right, and within that series, one of the characters was asking a question that not because nothing has happened in so long, it doesn't mean that it will never happen again. All right, and they were very, very complacent until something happened. So this first precept, Matthew 24 verse 38, it says, "For in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." And that's the thing, in the midst of that character having that thought, the threat actually appeared and breached the walls. All right, and before that, he was actually reminiscing on the fact that anyone that talked about going outside of the wall, or even mentioning a possibility of the walls being breached, were actually attacked by the crowd. They were they would actually be beaten, they would actually be put aside, they were actually dealt with as outcasts, and they were always under scrutiny. They were pretty much, they were being persecuted. And then I remembered this precept, which is John 15 verse 19. It says, "If ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hated you." Verse 20, "Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my sayings, they will keep yours also." All right. It says, "But all these things they will do unto you for my name's sake, because they know him not that sent me." And that is the thing, these people, they will persecute the prophets. Once you speak about the kingdom to come, once you speak about being delivered by the chariots of heaven, which are the so-called UFOs, once you speak about anything that is not of this world, whether it's from a moral standpoint, the laws that are being passed, the current order of things, then instantly you're attacked. And it just remind me, that scene just remind me of what's currently happening, where these people will be judged based on the fact that they're wicked, and also based on what they have done unto the prophets who have been sent to warn them. All right, so it just goes to show that Esau deliberately put these people in that contemplate and complacent spirit, with his media, among other things, because he knows what's happening, because the Lord is using him to bring it to pass. The only thing is that the result won't be what he expects. Next precept is 2 Peter 3 verse 4. It says, "And saying," well, let me start at verse 3. It says, "Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust." And that's the thing, with the whole thing that Putin mentioned, about the European nations having to buy natural gas in ruble. And as I was watching a video where this guy was predicting that they would actually apply that on to the wheat also, seeing that they actually help, they're a part of the whole 40% of wheat exports, right? Them and their allies, it's a possibility that, you know if that is done, then the inflation of the US dollar, among with other catastrophes, civil unrest, a big shift in the world. So there's going to be that will lead to a massive breakdown in society, also help leading up to the current war, right? But Putin made that decision, and the majority of people, I can speak for, these Benjamins out here in Jamaica, these Benjamites, they have not a clue. All right. It says, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers walking after their own lust, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? Salakia. Where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continued as they were from the beginning of the creation. And that's the thing, many people say, not in my lifetime. I've been hearing this from, I was a child, whatever they say, to say that, look, it's all BS, just live your life, do what you need to, all those things. But this is why this is going to creep up on them, as it says, as a thief in the night. Right? Verse 5 says, for this they willingly are ignorant, that by the word of the power of heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. And that's the thing, they think the scriptures are fairy tales. Some say, the flood never happened. Some said, the thing with Jonah, being in the fish's belly, it's a myth, and it's an allegory, and all these things. A lot of people in this current 21st century, or this new millennia, they discredit the Bible, and they don't care much for it. And even, very more importantly, even Jake is in that spirit as well. It says, whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished, but the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. And that's the thing, the judgment, will come forth through the means of the thermonuclear missiles, because that's the that's the final thing that's gonna happen. Before that, you're gonna be pestilence, famines, wars, unrest, earthquakes, a lot of things are gonna take place. But the ultimate judgment is gonna be, the firing of those thermonuclear missiles in America, and Babylon being destroyed, and the elect being delivered. But guess what? Just like, back then, they didn't care for much. And just as how, in that series, they didn't care for much until, the catastrophe happened. Then, those who were prepared, or those who had a mind, they made it out. And our way out is through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, doing as best as we can do, doing this work and preaching this word in hopes of receiving mercy and being delivered from the judgment to come. So with that, hope this was edifying. Once more, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to the brothers in the highways and byways pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps, the hopeful elect. Shalom.